Hi everyone, hope you're doing well, because I'm not. I'd just come back from a lovely stroll into town with a latte and a pano raisin. It was a great afternoon, but then I made the mistake of opening Reddit, where I had the misfortune of seeing this post from r/Star Wars at the top of my screen. In case you've got this on in the background, or in case you've taken a vow to never read anything from r/Star Wars ever again, let me describe to you what we're seeing here. There's a quote from Moses Ingram, who plays the new Sith Inquisitor Raver in Obi-Wan Kenobi, promoting the show, saying, "Obi-Wan is going to bring the most diversity I think we've ever seen in the galaxy before. To me, it's long overdue. If you've got talking droids and aliens but no people of colour, it doesn't make any sense. It's 2022, you know?" That's the quote. It is, of course, presented out of context, without any link provided to the original article. I wonder if the rest of the article will be relevant later.
Foreshadowing.
Now, if you've ever waded into the dragon snake infested swamp that is the Star Wars fanbase, you're probably already thinking, I bet this isn't going to go down well. And you'd be right, because that quote is positioned next to a collage showing all of Star Wars' non-white characters, with the post being titled, "Has she not watched a Star Wars movie?" Normally I'd just downvote this and keep scrolling, but this really got under my skin, to the point that I've put on hold the video I was meant to be working on today, because I'm sick of seeing posts like this and just moving on, taking their existence for granted. In this video then, I'm going to exhaustively break down this post, what it's saying, what it's insinuating, and how it works on multiple levels to spread hate and bigotry. So, let's begin. This collage of non-white faces in Star Wars includes some iconic characters, like Lando Calrissian, Mace Windu, and shit, Lando again, I guess, but it also contains a Tusken Raider, which fucking yikes! You know, there's probably an interesting video essay to be made about the evolution of Tusken Raiders in Star Wars media, from the othered savages of the 70s standing in as they did for the similarly suspect depictions of Native Americans in the Western genre, to the more nuanced figures we see in more recent projects, but this isn't that video. And either way, it's really not a great sign that the collage of significant non-white figures in the galaxy far, far away had to puff up its numbers with a recast, a minor character from one episode of The Mandalorian, and, oh yeah, again, a Tusken. Just for fun, let's see what this collage looks like with some context. Here's this collage, minus the Tusken for obvious reasons, stripped back to all the non-white characters from the original Star Wars movie. That's odd, it's just a black screen. Have I turned my monitor off by mistake or something? Oh right, yeah, silly me. You know what, let's extend it to cover all of the original trilogy. That's better. I'm obviously not including Boba Fett, by the way, as before episode 2 established Boba as a clone of Jango, and before The Mandalorian showed us Temuera Morrison in the role, Boba Fett was played by Jeremy Bulloch. This is a fun game, let's keep going. Here's the collage expanded to the prequels. Yup. Everyone else is from the last, 6 years, the Disney era. Even if you were trying to make the point that Star Wars nowadays is a diverse paradise of representation and racial sensitivity, which, would be an openly farcical argument, you'd have to admit that having only this many non-white characters in a then 30-year-old franchise, 2 of whom barely got to do anything, is kinda fucking sus. P.S. There's some mixed race and Hispanic actors here, and I'm not sure who amongst them would identify as white or non-white, and since racial taxonomy is not something I'm interested in pursuing here, I'm just gonna leave them in the collage. At the end of the day, white and non-white are both made-up categories anyway, but for simplicity's sake, I'm not going to dispute the collage's selection any further. Here's the kicker. I was originally planning to show you all of these images side by side with all the white characters in play at each point, but I dropped that during editing because it would have taken forever. Because, oh yeah, at literally any point in the process, even during the Disney era, the non-white characters are dwarfed by the white ones. To be perfectly clear, the point I'm trying to make with such comparisons isn't that Star Wars is bad because there are more white characters. Hollywood's majority white hegemony is a phenomenon which goes far beyond this particular franchise, and while more resistance to this hegemony might be nice for a number of reasons, I'm not saying that this imbalance in Star Wars makes the whole series worthless or anything like that. No, I'm simply making these comparisons to throw the idiocy and bigotry of this post into sharp relief. Did Ingram even watch the Star Wars films? OP asks. This is intended as a rhetorical question. The answer this post suggests is no, she can't have seen the films. If she had, she would see that across 11 films, 14 characters aren't white. That's diversity. Star Wars is diverse. It doesn't matter how little most of these characters are given to do, when compared to the almost exclusively white leads, and it doesn't matter how poorly some of their stories were wrapped up. Or rather, weren't wrapped up. No, 14 non-white faces across 40 plus years of cinema tells us that diversity has been achieved. This is obviously a facile oversimplification of what people actually mean when they talk about diversity in good faith, and indeed resembles fairly closely in mental acuity the answer you'd get were you to ask a lump of wet pizza dough what it thought about diversity in Star Wars. But there's actually a more sinister dynamic going on here, beyond mere stupidity. Let's go back to that title. Has Moses Ingram not seen the films? Well, that gives us two possible answers, doesn't it? Yes and no. Let's explore what each answer would mean, within the framework of assumptions this post is working with. As we discussed above, the post implies that no is the obvious answer, that if Ingram's making this statement she can't have seen the films, because the diversity of Star Wars is self-evident. The argument implicit here then is that this small collage of non-white faces is enough, that people of colour should be happy to make up even a quarter or so of the spaces that Disney Star Wars allots for its new characters, and thus that Ingram is ignorant for not seeing and realising this. If the answer to the post's question is no, then Ingram is cast as the latest in a long line of Star Wars grifters, following the likes of Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson, and many others, who in the dominant narratives of the modern Star Wars fanbase didn't get Star Wars, didn't care about Star Wars, and thanks to various forms of self-interest, mucked it up. But the open nature of this title question offers another possibility, the yes. So what's the post suggesting if this is the answer, if Ingram has seen the films? Well, as we've already noted, OP frames the existing diversity of Star Wars as self-evident, and judging by the comments, this is a popular opinion in r/Star Wars. Star Wars is already diverse, apparently. Ingram, though, claims that there's no people of colour here, and that diversity is long overdue. This appears to be an untrue claim, particularly when stripped of its context. As suggested above, if Ingram hasn't seen these films, if the answer to this question is no, then this seeming falsehood is the result of ignorance on her part. But if the answer is yes, if Ingram has seen the films, then this seeming falsehood isn't the result of ignorance, it's the result of malice. It's a deliberate lie. The Star Wars fanbase is being gaslit. They know these films are diverse enough, and if Ingram has actually seen them, then she must know this too, and yet she's claiming they aren't. She's claiming there's no representation, no diversity, no people of colour. And if Ingram isn't lying accidentally as a result of ignorance, then she must be lying on purpose. So those are the two options this post gives us, the two interpretations we're allowed for why Ingram said these words. And since in real life she obviously has seen the films, the user reading this post is pushed towards the latter, the idea that Ingram's lying about the diversity of Star Wars deliberately. There's a conspiracy being proposed here then, because when we bear in mind what have been the dominant narratives of the Star Wars fanbase since the Disney buyout, there's only one major motivation this post can be evoking: the elephant in the room. The only made-up boogeyman more terrifying to the Star Wars fanbase than the Empire or the Sith or the First Order, and that's the woke agenda. I don't want to spend too much time on this section because A, the woke agenda doesn't exist, and B, the woke agenda doesn't exist, but this is the logical endpoint of the snide little suppositions being made by the post in question. It's one massive dog whistle. The collage presented in isolation attempts to show that people of colour exist in Star Wars, and that Ingram's words are therefore untrue. The title then offers us a false dichotomy. Either Ingram's lying on purpose about this, or she's a self-serving ignorant who doesn't care about Star Wars. And if she is lying on purpose, that's even worse, because that means she's an agent of the woke agenda, infiltrating our sacred franchise in order to put estrogen in the action figures and turn all the Chad Star Wars enjoyers into Joe Biden's femboy army, or whatever the fuck the secret endgame of the woke agenda is supposed to be this week. At this point though, we can't even say for sure that these implications in the post are intentional. It might simply be that OP was parroting the bigotry they'd seen elsewhere in the fandom, without properly thinking through the implications of their own post, as we've done here. But even if the fascist dog whistling isn't intentional, the more boring, standard racism surely is. But before we get to that, let's dismantle this meme and its twisted faux logic once and for all. Here's the trick. This feigned outrage at this perceived lie, upon which this whole conspiracy of malice depends, results entirely from an unreasonably literal interpretation of Ingram's words. No reasonable person would see these words and assume Ingram actually believed that no person of colour had ever existed in Star Wars. She's clearly speaking hyperbolically, in reference to the franchise's infamous history of having like 3 black people in 30 years. This is slightly clearer in the full article, which we'll get back to, but come on, it's fairly obvious here too. When you realise this, that the rhetoric of this shitty meme hinges on an utterly unreasonable interpretation of Ingram's words, the overall picture becomes a lot clearer, and any semblance of logic to this post's complaints and implications falls apart. It becomes extremely clear what's actually going on here. OP doesn't like the fact that Ingram isn't happy with Star Wars' historical lack of diversity, and wants to attack her, call into question her intelligence or her integrity in response. This is yet another example of the time-honoured tradition within Star Wars culture of bringing gatekeeping into conversation with bigotry, because, again, the point being made with this little collage is that this is enough diversity. So why can't you be happy with this meager representation? The poster of this meme seems to ask some imagined diverse conglomerate of which Ingram is a part. There's an amount of ingratitude being projected onto Ingram here, along with anyone else who feels that Star Wars casting record isn't diverse enough, and this idea that actors of colour, that people of colour should be grateful to Star Wars and its white fans for being included at all, that's deplorable. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Gee, pillar of garbage, that's not a very charitable interpretation of this post from you. Gatekeeping, sure, but this isn't racist. Where's the racism? I can't see any explicit racism or any references to woke ideology, so I think you're reading too far into this. If that's you, then listen up, because I'm about to clarify all that. First, so far we've only been talking about this one post in the main Star Wars subreddit, but OP cross-posted it to a bunch of other subs too, sometimes with different titles. Take this one for instance, in r/prequel memes, which is titled, "The ability to speak does not make you intelligent." That's a quote from the movies. Fun! It's also extending the Moses Ingram hate from what we already had, that is selfish ignorance and malicious lying, and adding just a general accusation of stupidity. Ha ha ha! This actor wants to see more underrepresented ethnic groups show up in a beloved franchise, this post says. Isn't she dumb? Second though, and more importantly, if you're upset that I've been reading between the lines here, looking at implications and suggestions rather than simply the text on the screen, that's because that's how everyone else has viewed this post too. The comments across these posts made the same inferences I've made in this video. That is, latching onto the subtextual suggestion of a woke agenda and so forth, and embraced them. This is like textbook dog whistling, and the very visible examples of other bigots detecting and amplifying these elements only makes that clearer. And in case any of you are still in denial about this, guess what? In a real plot twist, an unexpected sequence of events which nobody could have predicted, Moses Ingram has been publicly and directly targeted by racist abuse and death threats in the time since I started writing this video. Wow, what a big surprise! Didn't fucking see that one coming! And it seems like there's a direct causal link between the post we're discussing and the messages she's received, since some of the messages which have been made public hinge on the same context-stripping, over-literalizing misrepresentation of Ingram's words which this post makes, the obviously farcical idea that Ingram's the first actor of colour to feature in Star Wars. So good job r/Star Wars for creating and amplifying the bigoted nonsense which has led to the latest Star Wars creative being attacked by sweaty little incels and fascist morons. And isn't it a funny coincidence how often these fan-led circle jerks of gatekeeping and bullying tend to focus on women and minorities? Real big coincidence there, huh? Part of me is hesitant to describe these people as Star Wars fans, because a wise fellow once pointed out to me that to call toxic vocal minorities fans of a property legitimizes anger and abuse as forms of fan love, by maintaining that those being toxic are still genuine fans. But the ugly truth is that in the Star Wars fanbase, I'm getting less and less convinced that this is just a toxic minority. How long has it been since the last time Star Wars viewers were so vile and abusive towards an actor that they actually damaged their mental health? No, not that time. No, nor this. No, not that one either. Yeah, her. So yeah, not very long. It's got to the point that Lucasfilm are actively briefing people of colour that they're almost certainly going to face racist abuse if they take these roles. And hey, do you want to hear something fun? And by fun I obviously mean enraging and depressing. This article about how Star Wars viewers are so toxic and racist that new actors are being made aware that their harassment is a question of when, not if, which incidentally has been proven right less than a week after the Kenobi series premiered. That is the article from which the maker of this image pulled the quote, which they used to make the meme that directly led to this latest incident of racist abuse. Hey, the foreshadowing paid off. How is it possible to have this little self-awareness? Did OP read the article and just think, yep, better prove Lucasfilm right as soon as we can? It's just like, Jesus Christ. At the end of the day, everyone who watches these films and enters spaces such as comment sections, Discord servers, or subreddits to discuss them or to celebrate them has a duty to call out racism, toxicity, or other forms of bullying. And either not enough real fans are acting according to this responsibility, or we're just outnumbered by the wankers. Either way, I'm getting really sick of it. And the worst part? This is one post of literally thousands of similar things which get posted across the internet on any given day. You could sit down and work through any number of them and find similar dog whistles or hidden levels of bigotry operating within. This problem is so far from unique to this one post that even attempting to think about the real scale of these issues is almost impossible. Star Wars fans can moan about declining quality, or oversaturation, or any of the literally thousands of things they complain about, but when I finally check out of this community, when I finally stop engaging with new Star Wars media, I have a feeling it's not going to be due to any of those things. It's going to be because I'll no longer be able to stand associating myself with the Star Wars fanbase. Because the benefits of seeing cool Space Wizard number 33 defeat Robot Samurai number 12 to save Gulp Shitto one more time will no longer outweigh the cost of being lumped in with the imbecilic room temperature IQ brainlets who post dreck like this, and the cost of tacitly affirming, in some small way, this deplorable hatred and bigotry. That's the video. We're done. Star Wars community try not to be worthless human beings challenge. Fucking impossible, I guess. Jesus. Thanks to all my patrons on screen now as usual, especially Kevin Douglas and Ian Fifield. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to go and slam my head repeatedly against a wall.